So, how did you first join the Fable community or find out about them?
Well, I mean, from the very beginning, I originally, when I first started on Twitch, I wanted to start with Kingdom Hearts speedrunning, of all things, actually. But I didn't have a capture card at the time. So I thought I'd look to another game that I liked, and evidently sought to ruin for myself. And I turned to Fable because I saw, I think it was Blasted, who's one of the very first runs that I saw. It was like 140 something.
Okay.
I can't quite remember what it was. But I basically watched one of his runs, took some notes, and started streaming some practice. And I think it was sometime during that practice stream. I wish I had saved it, but it was sometime during that stream, or it was sometime during my very first run. I'm not too sure which one. It's probably the practice, but I was found by Giant Steps.
Oh. Do you know when that would have been? Because I'm trying to think. Blasted had a 140-ish time, sort of mid to later 2014. So do you think that was 2014 or 2015-ish?
No, it was at the very beginning of like 20. It may have been like late 2014 when I actually started learning. But my first run, you probably know, is February 3rd of 2015.
Yes. February 3rd.
It looks like my very first highlight was something about some save corruption that I now know that I now know is dialogue, because I didn't know about exiting the game and making new profiles and stuff. Doing that can, if you don't do that, like, some things can carry over, like summon creatures. If you manage to transform your wasp into something else, that can actually carry over into another profile if you
interesting. I actually
don't completely exit out of the game. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, like things like dialogue from traders and such can carry over. And my first ever highlight is Shopkeepers Please, because it was in Bowerstone South, and they were telling me, like, you sent the sword back to the underworld. And I was like, no, I didn't. Somebody else did in a different game, but not this one. And that was from January 26th of 2015. So, well, I guess we can call it 2015.
Yeah, looks like at the start of 2015. Okay.
As far as anything that's, like, documented.
Yeah. So, let's see. You started in 2015. So, I don't know how to put it into words. So, KJ just took the record and ran with it.
Pretty much. I mean, I was just actually telling a friend, like, kind of looking back on it, reminiscing a little bit with a friend of mine, and it was there was a time where it was basically almost like a world record every week. Yeah. With KJ for this, like, long period of time.
No, you can actually look, like, and it's like there's 5 world records in February. 7th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 23rd, 27th. What is that? 6?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's like there's that, and then in March, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 17th, May 21st, 26th.
It was pretty insane.
It's like, every other week there's sometimes multiple times a week.
Mm-hmm.
Which is crazy. But how did you play into this? Because looking at just the world record history, I don't see you anywhere on here until the very end. But I know that's not the case.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, I only just recently got inspired to even shoot for world record altogether by Adam. Like, he's just told me this one at some point, and then I actually, got myself to believe it. And like, dude, you can actually get world record. You can actually beat that time. Like, he's seen how I do, where I've improved. If it weren't for like his inspiration, I'm not sure I would have quite gotten that time when I did. I probably would have come back at some point later on, who knows how further along in time, and probably gotten close to that, but I don't know. That's a big realm of what ifs right there.
That's true. Because one of the things that's up in the air is that, like, as you tied the RTA record, KJ's like, oh, I got to get back in. So, like,
yeah,
if you had just said, oh, I'll do it next week, like, what if KJ just comes back and takes it again? And it pushes the goal line a little further, and you're like, oh, well, there was my chance. Now it's gone. Not that, it could have happened.
Probably. Yeah. No, I mean, like, that's actually something I was legitimately expecting. Not to necessarily poop on him or anything, but I was actually slightly relieved, like, from a really greedy personal standpoint. Like, I don't know, I don't like to think of myself as a greedy person, but that little part of me was, like, really happy his game wasn't running properly, like, during his most recent attempts at trying to get some runs started the other day.
Right. I don't know if I'd call that greedy.
Part of me was relieved. I mean, obviously I didn't like the fact that he was inspired by my getting close to his time to try and improve his own, and then just having the game disagree with him and say, nah fam, you ain't doing that. But I obviously didn't like that, but no, I mean, at this point I wouldn't care if I get if somebody comes in. Doesn't even have to be KJ. I wouldn't care if somebody came in and actually snagged world record from me like that. I wouldn't care. I mean, I'd welcome it, honestly.
So you're just happy that you made it to this point, and at this point, anything that happens after this is kind of whatever? Yeah.
And I mean, I'm probably going to end up, working on this time as well, because it's far from perfect.
Right.
There are so many things that could have gone way better. I think, though, the RNG part of it, that there's two major RNG spots that we like to dub as run killers, and that would be both very much death-themed, of course, Litchfield Graveyard and the Necropolis, because the reason Litchfield is referred to as an RNG run killer is due to two segments in it. There's fishing, which is literally required by the story. You need to fish up this dude named Nostro. His shield is in the water because it was stolen by the Gravekeeper. He's trying to make some money off of everything. But you go through everything else, like you dig up two of his pieces. The Gravekeeper himself didn't have time to hide the helm, so he had it on a shelf right behind him. And then there's a shield in the water that you got to fish up, and it's a pretty dumb minigame.
Yeah,
and it's wholly based on RNG.
Yeah,
and it can very easily kill a run before it even has a chance to actually be considered a run. And then there's the other part of that is Circle of the Dead, which is basically you got to kill a certain amount of enemies, and these enemies are only vulnerable when they're within this little stone circle. So whether or not they actually decide to notice you and try to attack you and get into the circle is based on RNG as well.
Also, they stumble and as they move in.
Yeah, they are very slow moving, and it's painful. I feel like I've had some of the worst luck with that in my history of speedrunning the game. But that's probably just me being biased and salty and everything. But then there's Necropolis, which is probably one of the most interesting but confusing design aspects of Fable. And for that, we have to look for three specific names engraved on the tombstones, and the location of these names is randomized. Thankfully, we actually know that the names and the contents are always the same, So we just look for the names. But because the locations of these names is randomized every time you enter that area, there's never a guarantee of actually getting a good pace out of that as well.
Right.
It is possible to actually have, like, all 3 names in the very first area, like, as soon as you walk into Necropolis.
Mm-hmm.
But I have only ever seen that once, and it wasn't even in a speedrun.
Yeah, I saw that you had... you have a command in your channel that pulls up that video.
I do.
I watched that one a little bit. But yeah, that is the god RNG. But that doesn't happen very often, I imagine.
That is the only time I have ever seen it.
Yeah,
that is the only
time.
All
the times you played the game, you've only seen it one time.
Of all the times I've seen all the times I've played it myself, I've seen other people run the game. That is the only time I have ever seen it in all 3 of them in that first area.
There's a lot of graves. There's a lot of chances for it to not be that.
Mm-hmm.
So, you got the world record today. I was told that you have like 30 seconds of time save due to newer strats. Could you maybe go into that a little bit?
Well, I mean, I did.
So one of the things I was told is that the arena with the spinning blades for berserk damage.
Yeah.
Could you explain that to me?
Okay, so what the goal there is, you can actually use a function of berserk where when you get hit, it increases your physical damage output. So, standing in the blades, interestingly enough, if you stand, like, not necessarily quite in the middle of them, but close enough in the middle of them, you actually get hit by multiple blades at once. So each one of those blade hits actually tacks on to that extra, damage output. So, like, it makes rock trolls especially, like, a lot faster. You can actually down one rock troll in the span of a single berserk cycle. Actually, less than a single berserk cycle, because you go berserk at the very beginning of the round to get hit by the blade traps. But, it expedites that process a very significant margin. And something I tried to do, but it evidently didn't do successfully in that run, was utilize that strategy for the better parts of the bandits round, because I know for certain it's not necessary for the second wave, because you can simply use the spell Inflame to take care of the 4 lesser bandits that are in there, and then there's 4 bigger boss type bandits as well, and those can be taken down with a single berserk multi-strike swing.
Okay.
And that's another thing that was a problem with that round, was the amount of hits that I was actually whiffing. And then also Whisper was knocking down a couple of them as well, and when they get knocked down, the only way you can really damage them is with Inflame. But only having Inflame level 3 is not necessarily the best thing for dealing with the bigger bandits. It's still a useful thing to do, and I probably should have done it in hindsight, but I don't know.
It's just time save for next time.
Yeah, and some things are just out of your control, i.e. Whisper.
Yeah. Okay. Was there anything else in the run that you had improved over KJ's routes?
I would definitely want to say the new strategy for childhood and involving the hero save and loading warp, I guess it is, we can call it. An interesting side effect of that actually is that the game's time, like time of day, is frozen, as if like it is in the very first quest. Like, if you've ever just sat in that very first quest for, like, multiple minutes, that clock never changes. It never moves. It's always that same time of day. And this has a basically permanent effect on the rest of the game, because because the time never changes, time doesn't elapse, days don't pass. Traders actually have day one inventories, which has proven, I think, to have access to more will potions, and that's something we go through a lot of in the speedrun. There's a lot of will potions consumed in the speedrun.
Okay.
And we basically grab will potions at every available opportunity. And because, like I said, they have day one inventories, their stock is more plentiful than that of what KJ's personal best was. Like, the arena, for example, in his run, he got access to 30 will potions, but with the new strategy and the time being frozen and everything, I had access to 40.
It's a significant difference.
Yeah.
It's not just one or two. That's it's a 25% increase.
Yeah. And, I know we get... I want to say we get less than 50. We used to get less than 50 in the guild. Now we get 62. On our way back to Twin Blades Camp after summon clipping our way to the Cullis Gate there.
Okay.
And that's actually something I have definitely been working on, is my summon clips. Although I did end up messing up 2 of them. Those 2 being Barrier Clip and Swag Clip. I ultimately just ditched Swag Clip after I realized it wasn't going to work. And... Barrier Clip, I just barely pulled that one off. Because the way I screwed it up was actually kind of silly. My muscle memory kind of failed me. For a long time, actually in the very beginning of the run, I have summon on 4. But once I get to the arena, I move summon over to, on my keyboard, it would be 3, 7, and 9.
Okay.
But 3 on... the hotbar in the game is actually bound to 8. And the reason for that actually is because we don't have to reposition it ourselves manually, because dragging and dropping things in the menus is a bit of a pain, because the menu is just laggy, and so is the cursor. So I've basically spent a good couple of hours, I think, practicing that in total. Trying to minimize the amount of cursor movement I need to do. And I like to think I did pretty well, especially in the Oakville buy-selling session.
Nice. I'll have to go back and I'll have to do some more notes on this run in particular. I was watching it as you were premiering it, but I was distracted with something else as well. So
that's fine.
But I will want to go back and watch it again.
That's perfectly fair.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else I wanted to cover? So you started in 2015. Were you there to help with strategy finding and stuff like that? Because KJ is getting world records every week or every day or whatever for 3 months. But he pushes the time down at least 10 minutes. And I'm wondering if you were helping him out with that, or...
I don't believe I was. The thing that actually... This is something that KJ actually says in his TLC Any Percent guide from quite a while ago now, and it still holds true to this very day. He says, movement here is key. It can make or break your runs. That is a very, very true statement, and that's something I've definitely taken to working on myself.
So you think that was all just him optimizing specifically how to move and not getting caught on stuff?
Largely, yeah, because I don't think there were very many strategy deviations from before. I want to say that was largely, without looking at the runs, I want to say it's just largely self-improvement in, specific screens and everything, handling movement better, getting a good feel for everything.
Yeah, he was also one of the first people to introduce Berserk Row Rush.
Yes.
And I think that he had to, I guess, on his own, kind of route it out, get the feel for it.
I believe so. Yeah. That sounds about right, yeah. Because, I can't remember exactly how that conversation went down, but, it was kind of... I don't even remember who introduced it proper, but it was introduced to us, and, God, I wish I had a better memory for this.
That's all right. I'm looking at a forum post where this guy named Valiant North mentions a whole bunch of tricks and stuff like that, and one of the things that he says is Assassin roll rushing has been replaced by Berserk roll rushing. I don't know. He seemed kind of an interesting character, but he comes off and says like, "Oh, I found clips for everything, and you can go out of bounds in every map and clip into any object door and all these crazy things." And then
that's probably true.
That was 2014.
He's done quite a bit of summon clipping and experimentation. I know he has a video guide on just the whole premise of summon clipping. And he was actually the first one to finally discover or just pull off summon clipping into the Chamber of Fate to get the Sword of Aeons early in the game. Okay. Which sadly is only really utilized by few runners for TLC. And actually, it may just be Big Law.
Big Law's the one I want to know in particular.
Yeah. But basically, ever since that day, I've seen a bunch of videos on that very subject, clipping into Chamber of Fate early on. And thankfully, it does work for all versions of Fable, and that's actually what makes the original Xbox Fable run from 2004 as fast as it is. But that's a subject for another time, I think.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. What are your thoughts about the future of Fable running?
I'm excited. Because I think we've seen quite a bit of interest in the very more recent times.
Right.
And the idea of speedrunning the first Fable game. And it's come in all the versions, I think. Like, I know we have a newer runner, Midas. He's currently working on, like I said earlier, original Xbox Fable.
Right, I've seen him in Discord.
There was also some newer runners for Anniversary as well. And also pretty recently, the Fun Cannon did a Fable TLC any % for his 12-hour speedrun challenge.
Oh. I didn't see that on the board. He hasn't uploaded it yet.
I don't think he's submitted it. No, he hasn't submitted it.
Yeah.
But he does have a sub 2-hour time, which is very solid.
It's better than mine.
Second completed runs. Very solid time. Yours isn't anything to sneeze at either.
I'll come back to it. Doing this video has made me want to come back to it. But I had already planned to do it this year anyways.
Well, I wish you all the best on that. And if you ever need any help with anything, you know where to come.
Yep, I know where to find y'all.
Yep.
You guys are always really helpful.
Yeah, we are very, very happy to help anybody with any specific areas or just the game entirely in general. Like, I know a lot of people have been wanting to try to get the game to run in windowed mode with varying degrees of success, and Adam actually put a guide on how to do that up on the speedrun.com/FableTLC page.
Yep. I
got
a bunch of notifications
open and available for everybody to use and start doing stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to start using that. one thing I've always hated about Fable is like I forgot who said it, but I have a friend who says that some of those games are full screen assholes. It's like if you try to go full screen, it just fucks everything up. So it's like it's a bully for the rest of your computer. So I'm hoping that the window mode will help alleviate some of those symptoms.
Yeah, I think that's part of why I was kind of robbed, even though I kind of did it to myself. It was entirely on accident with this most recent world record. I've known for a while that holding control while mashing escape will minimize your game. And of course, of all the times to accidentally do that, during a world record pace run,
yeah,
I had like a full blown panic attack when that actually happened.
Yeah, you recovered though.
I did.
Did you have voice at that point?
I did not.
It was just game audio.
It was just game audio. Yeah.
It's probably for the best.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. Not wrong. Not wrong. But like a lot of it would have just been me talking to myself like, I should reset. God, this arena was awful. I'm never going to get a fish like that ever again because that was the Litchfield fish. Oof, that was the best fish I've ever gotten there. I don't think I'll ever get anything like that ever again. That's going to be a tough competitor.
Yeah, well, maybe it'll stand for a while. I don't know if it'll stand for a full year like the last world record did, but
I hope it doesn't. I really hope it doesn't.
We'll see.
I hope it doesn't. I hope KJ can manage to get his game to run properly, because I personally, and I've seen some interest in it, and I've brought it up, like a race between just the two of us, I think would be a very interesting watch. Yeah, and I think it would be very interesting to just partake in it now, because we are both at a pretty darn close to the same skill level, if not like right there.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you tied his record, and then you just beat it by, it was less than 10 seconds. I don't know how much it was exactly. It's only like 4 seconds RTA, but it's like 9 seconds?
It was 11 seconds.
11
seconds. Time, actually, yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I see it now. So, y'all are really close.
Yeah.
And if you, in your splits, actually have the KJ world record and your PB, like, side by side in one split kind of thing. So you can actually see, like, oh, you're better than your PB in this part, but, like, KJ's beating you in this part, or vice versa, where you're, like, destroying KJ, but you're barely beating your own PB. But, yeah, you're still, like, ahead of time in him, so it's, like, it's interesting to see where the two of you don't match up and where you do match up.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to set my live split up so I could actually see my splits right next to his, because I thought that would be a good comparison. And I think that was the right decision.
Yeah.
In this
no harm, no foul. I think that was a good idea. It definitely didn't hurt in any way. Like, it doesn't detract. And it only adds more information, which is interesting. So, yeah. I think that was a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Was there anything else about... are there any, like, potential ideas? Like, I know that Edom has his prison skip idea. I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but there's a bounty out there for anybody who wants to try it. But are there any other ideas that you have in your head of like, oh man, I'm just looking for that one thing, and then I can get right past that one section?
On that subject, there's also a bounty for Litchfield Graveyard, because of that fishing, and it is a genuine pain. That's something that we would very much like to be able to skip. I actually kind of tested again recently, actually, it was just a couple days ago. I decided just for grins to like verify again. I don't know why, but I just did. And I found out something interesting about that. I have a video that says, it's titled, I believe, Why Summon Clipping in Litchfield Graveyard Doesn't Do You Any Good, something along those lines. And I have one for both Lost Chapters and Anniversary. But what it shows off is that you can summon clip the demon door, which is actually technically not a demon door, and more on that sometime else. You can summon clip it, and you can progress through to Circle of the Dead. You can kill all the undead that you need, and you can open that stone door, but when you actually go to interact with the door to go into the chamber where the Kraken is, it's going to tell you that you are trying to leave a quest area, and it will give you the option to either reload the game or stay in the area that you're in. And
there's like a flag not being set.
Pretty much, yeah. And we knew about that before, but I decided to go back and then summon clip the gate to get Nostro's armor and get it back to him, and then recall back, and then still wasn't allowed back into the area. Like, there's actually a, quote, useless, end quote, cutscene that happens in the old graveyard path after, you go past the demon door. It's literally like a second long, but that cutscene did not play there. It only played after I actually talked to the Gravekeeper to get him to open the gates proper. Or if the gates just themselves need to be opened, because you can actually kill that Gravekeeper and loot a key off of him, which will also open the gate. So it's looking horribly unlikely that we'll ever see a Litchfield skip, but I'm not going to dismiss the possibility altogether. There's still a sliver of hope.
That's good. Got to keep hope alive.
I think that there are still avenues about this game that we have not been able to explore, that there's still a whole slew of possibilities that we just don't know of yet. I don't think we know everything that there is to know about this run yet. I think we know a good deal, but not everything.
That's good. It's good that there's more to it, that we think there's something to look forward to. Maybe we'll get a sub 1 hour one day.
That would be nice, yeah.
If we could skip prison, I think we could.
At this point, yes. If we could skip prison, that would probably very well equal that amount of time. Like, let me just look at... I just had my splits up, actually. Let me take a look. Rescue Scarlet Robe. Yeah, that split itself is... in my run, it was 9 minutes, 47 seconds of loadless time.
Yeah.
And then time with loads, it was almost 11 minutes, just 2 seconds shy. So if we could skip prison, that would very well equal...
You're right there on the border of the 1 hour mark.
Yeah, and then it would be down to other various RNG and, of course, runner skill and everything like that. Like, it's actually kind of amazing how much RNG there is in the run, like, in very subtle ways. Like, every screen, pretty much, enemies can be... they can be different, they can be in different locations. I think there's a set amount for specific spawn tables or something. But, yeah, like, getting a summon transfer is a very key thing for the Trader Escort quest. And that's something I actually kind of flubbed in World Record today. Was, I went back to Greatwood Cullis Gate after getting all the experience upgrades I needed and picking up the Trader Escort quest from the map table in the guild. I was lucky enough to have a bunch of hobs spawn in the Greatwood Cullis Gate screen, but I wasn't paying attention to my minimap, and I was hoping that there would be more than just the clump of them that were right next to the Cullis Gate. So I ended up having to backtrack, realizing that there weren't any others on the screen.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. So that was that was some time loss all on my end. I completely messed that up, but potential free time save for later, like you said before, on some other things.
Yep. But no run's ever going to be perfect, but it was still a good run, so don't discount that.
No, I'm not aiming to. It's far from perfect. It can easily be improved upon, but it's still something I'm pretty happy with all the same.
I'm glad to hear it. Okay, Clean. I don't know if I have any more questions for you. Just want to ask, is there anything you wanted to say on top of anything? Anything you want to add before we close this out?
I feel like I should have something to say, but I actually don't think I have anything to say.
It's all right. Adam and KJ didn't have anything to say, so it's all good. I just thought, I'll offer you the chance to have something there. I might put it in the video if it's good. So,
I think I will say one thing. Picking up the game and just learning how to do it in the first place. There's plenty of help. There's plenty of strategies, plenty of different safety cushions that one can fall back on. There will be some tough areas, like the arena especially. That's a pretty tough split to learn and get comfortable with.
I can personally attest to that.
But for somebody who's new to speedrunning, like I said, there's a bunch of help. Everybody in the community is pretty much willing to help and answer questions and all that wonderful goodness. But if you're trying to go for an optimized time, just be aware it's going to become a bit of a headache, but that's pretty much any speedrun I've noticed. Like, the lower your time gets, you have less room for error and everything.
Yep.
But it's still good fun. I mean, I obviously wouldn't be trying to go for it if I didn't have any sense of enjoyment from it. So while I may very well seem frustrated on the outside when doing, attempt after attempt after attempt and getting absolutely nowhere because, I did this one thing wrong, I better reset now, I do still enjoy it. That is not... I just want to make sure that is not confused as a legitimate hatred for the game. I mean, I hate aspects of it, but as far as the game itself goes, I absolutely do enjoy playing it. And let there be no confusion about that.
Sounds good, man.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks for chatting with me.
No
Congratulations one more time for
Thank you again.
Getting world record, man. It's a big deal. But yeah, we'll see what the future holds.
Finally bopping KJ's time.
The reign of terror. It's over.
Yeah, for now anyway.
For now.
Until he gets those technical issues sorted out, and I hope that happens sooner rather than later, because he does seem genuinely interested in coming back and improving his time, and I do seriously want him to do so for himself. I mean, I don't want to pressure him into doing anything he doesn't want to do.
Yeah. Okay, Queen. I think that'll do it.